It's also a special gift to be here together, celebrating something so important, coming together to support women, families, the community. So I'm going to take a moment and share with you a connection a little bit that I have to doing the same thing. But I'm going to take you on a journey from West Virginia, believe it or not, to West Africa. And it's going to be a fun storytelling journey because cultures all over the world, specifically in Africa, give information through storytelling. And so I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm going to take you back to the beginning. So I'm going to take you back to my childhood. I was adopted 3 days after my first birthday by Dr. Jim and Judy Culberson. That's my dad looking like a fabulous hippie. My mom's taking the photo. I have these two new sisters, Laura, blonde hair, green eyes, she was 10. Lynn, dark hair, big glasses, she was 11. So I was adopted into an all-white family in Morgantown, West Virginia. And here I am with my dad. I'm looking a little nervous and a little scared, like, who is this man with this big bushy beard? And my sisters yelled to all the neighborhood girls, come here, come here, come here, you gotta see my new little baby sister Sarah, you gotta see my new little baby sister Sarah. So all the neighborhood girls came and sat in a circle, and Catherine Morgan was in the blue t-shirt there, and she looked over at my sister Lynn, who's in the denim jumpsuit, and she said, now is she black, or does she just have a really good tan? I love kids, right? You never know what they're gonna say. 30% African American in Morgantown, West Virginia. They hadn't seen very many kids of color. My sister Lynn said, this is my new little baby sister Sarah. She's part West African and part white American. And they were like, oh, okay. So I was getting to know the kids in the neighborhood, hanging out. We also had a little poodle inside the house. His name was Benji. He had the same afro I had going on. He was my little buddy. And I was getting to know my extended family. My mom called her mother, my grandmother, to tell them that I had been adopted. And the call went a little bit like this. Hi, Mom. We adopted this new little girl, Sarah. I cannot wait to come home to Illinois, to the farm, so you can meet her. Oh, Lynn and Laura are having so much fun with her. It's going to be great. Hello? Hello? And there was silence on the other end of the line. My grandmother said to my mom, Judy, I told you I think adopting this black little girl into the family is only going to cause problems, and I don't want to talk to you about it. Click. And my grandmother hung up on my mom. Now, my mom being the tiny yet mighty, she was about 5'1", little over 100 pounds, tiny yet very mighty, said, you know what? I'm tired of these assumptions that my mother's making. We're all getting in the car. We're going to Litchfield, Illinois, like we always do, and my mother's going to have to deal with this. My sisters, we used to call her the grizzly bear. So we all got in the car that summer, Mom, Dad, Lynn, Laura, Benji the dog, and we drive to Litchfield, Illinois. We get out of the car, the cows are on one side, the pond is out in front, the cornfields that go on for days on one side, the chicken coop and the white farmhouse that my mom grew up in. My mom gets out of the car holding me. My grandmother gets out of the car. The door kind of screeches open. She walks out with her arms crossed. She looks at me. She looks away. Then she looks back at me and says, with her arms out, can I hold her? And in that moment, my mom said I was breaking racial barriers within my own family. So I was getting to know my grandparents, and I actually got to get to know my grandmother better. This picture will pop up of my grandma. Oh, whoops, I went too far. And also trying to fit in. I didn't look like everyone in my family, as you can see from this fabulous 70s going into the 80s family photo. You know some of you all have this photo, a similar photo somewhere. And by the way, my sisters make me give a disclaimer when I share this photo. Because they said, Sarah, if you're going to show this when you travel and speak, you must remind people that Dorothy Hamill was an Olympic ice skater. And that is why our haircuts are like bowl cuts. I said, no problem. I will make sure I let people know. Now my mom has a perm. I think now she wants it afro like me, and my dad's still looking like a fabulous hippie. So here's the family that I grew up in Morgantown, West Virginia, having a great life, getting a lot of support, and a lot of love, but sometimes feeling like I need to do something really great so everyone will like me and no one will leave me. I went on to go to college. I went to graduate school in Northern California, and then I moved to Los Angeles where I started doing TV and film. And as I was in LA, I wanted to know more about my biological roots. I wondered who I look like. I wanted to know about medical history. I had all these questions I wanted to get answered that I kind of stuffed down over the years. And I told my parents that I was going to go on this journey. I said, no one will ever replace you. I love you. You are my family. You are my heart. But there's some questions I need to get answered. And my family said, we love you. We know who we are to you as parents, and we're here to support you, which meant the world to me. So I went on this journey, the journey of the unknown. You know, sometimes we step into the unknown and we don't know how it's going to go. So I stepped into the unknown, nervous, excited, and I was sitting in this class called Landmark Worldwide, and they said, tell the person sitting next to you where you're holding back in your life. And I was sitting next to my friend Art, and I said, Art, I'm terrified to find my birth father. I know that my birth mother passed away of cancer when I would have been about 11. I definitely think my mother really could have used an organization like this one to support her on her journey. And the work that you're doing is so valuable and so important. Medical care, everything, support, food. Well, my mother was kind of trying to figure things out. So I didn't get to meet her, but I got to see pictures and I got to hear stories. And I'm going to show you a picture of her. She loved to sing and dance and act, and so did I. When I heard stories about her, it was as if I was hearing about myself. I was like, it's like we're the same person. We had the same crooked tooth. I was like, that's where I got that crooked tooth. So I started to get to know this amazing woman who I found out later, she and my birth father, they spent their time together in the summer, and they fell in love, and I was a surprise. She didn't know she was pregnant. He didn't know she was pregnant. He had gone back to school in another part of West Virginia, actually. My birth father, Joe Pessoa, actually was coming to school in the United States. She kept me for 9 months and said, Joe, you stay in school, I'll take care of her. And then after 9 months, she realized this is too hard to do on my own. I think we should give her to a family who can really give her what she needs. So I was with her for 9 months, then I was in foster care for 3 months, then I was adopted into the family, the amazing family I showed you. Well, her story, I started to learn about her and her journey, but I wanted to know about my birth father. And in my heart, I knew he was still alive. So I went on a journey. And like I said, I was sitting in that class. They said, where are you holding back in your life? And I said, I'm terrified to find my birth father. And my friend said, why? I said, I've heard it costs thousands of dollars for a private investigator. I don't know where to begin, and honestly, I'm really afraid of being rejected. And my friend said, listen, I know a private investigator who won't charge you more than $100, and your birth father is going to love you. And I said, okay, I'm stepping into being open, loving, and courageous no matter what, and I was terrified. And what I also didn't realize, not only was I scared, but before that I was angry. I thought, well, where were you? My birth mother kept me for 9 months, and then where were you? Didn't you care about me? And I was angry. And then as I sat in the course, I started to go, what was it like to be an African man in the 70s and 80s meeting a white woman in West Virginia having a child? Maybe I should give this guy a break, right? And the moment I did that, the moment I let go of that judgment, that anger, all the fear came up. But I realized all the judgment and anger was really masking the fear. And I just let it go, and I stood in my vulnerability. And I reached out to my friend. My friend said, I know a private investigator who won't charge you more than $100. Your birth father's going to love you. And I said, okay. I wrote a letter. Do you remember when we used to write letters? Right? Back in the day when we used to go to the mailbox. So this is 2003. I wrote a letter because the private investigator gave me all the information I needed for, I thought it'd be thousands. My friend said it would be 100. It ended up being $25. It was meant to be. It was all laid out for me. I just wasn't available. That's what I want to also talk about when I think about the work that you're doing. Things can be laid out for people, but if they're dealing with circumstances and challenges that you all are supporting them with, they can't necessarily reach their goals, but what you're doing gives them the opportunity to reach their goals and to step into something that they might not even know is possible for them. My friend gave me that opportunity and had me step into something that I didn't even know was possible. I handwrote a letter, mailed it off to Maryland, which is where they said my birth father was. 3 days later, I get a phone call, and there's a woman on the other line. She says, "Hello, Sarah. This is Evelyn. How are you?" And I thought, is this that Jamaican woman I met the other day? Because I couldn't get the dialect, and I wasn't expecting to hear from anyone so soon. She said, "Sarah, I'm your auntie. We received your letter." And I started to bawl. I said, "Thank you so much for calling. I didn't ever know if I'd ever hear from you. I didn't know if I would ever see you." She said, "Sarah, I was there when you were born. I used to take care of you when your birth mother would go to the grocery store." She said, hold on, let me get your uncle on the phone." And my uncle gets on the phone and goes, "Oh, Sarah." I was like, whoa. She says, "We are so happy you've been found. Do you know who you are?" I said, "I'm Sarah." She said, "You are part of a royal family. Your great-grandfather was a paramount chief in Sierra Leone. Your grandfather was a paramount chief in Sierra Leone. Your grandfather was knighted Justice of the Peace by the Queen of England. Your family runs a chiefdom of 70,000. Your uncle's the president in the country. You can be chief someday. You are a princess in this country." I was on the phone like, wait a second, what? Does this mean I have to wear dresses all the time? Now I can never say a bad word. Do I have to be perfect now? Like, what does this mean? What's happening? They said, "We're going to contact your birth father in Sierra Leone. He's going to be so happy to meet you and hear from you." Well, all the fear came back up again, but I said, I'm not going to let the fear stop me. I'm going to step into the unknown. So 2 weeks went by while they got a message from village to village to village, because in Sierra Leone, they went through an 11-year civil war. So very few people had access to cell phones during that time. So during those 2 weeks, I started getting phone calls from all of these different African family members who live in the United States. "Hello, Sarah. I'm your Uncle Ali, your father's favorite uncle. Hello, Sarah. I'm your Auntie Jenny. They used to call your father me twins when we were little. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah." All of these different African family members are calling me, welcoming me to the family when I had told myself they're not going to want to meet me, they're not going to want to talk to me. It was this beautiful welcoming. And then after the 2 weeks went by, who do you think called? Yeah, just making sure you're with me. My birth father called. And I heard his voice for the first time, and the first thing he said to me is, he said, "Sarah, please forgive me. I did not know how to find you after you'd been placed in adoption. Your name had changed. Everything had changed." And I said, no. I need to ask you to please forgive me, because I've been making you wrong my entire life just to protect myself, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And he said, "Okay." I said, "I'd love to come and visit you." He said, "I would love that." So I flew to Sierra Leone with other family members, and I'd love for you to see this welcome that I saw when I got to Sierra Leone. Welcomed by hundreds of people, singing and dancing. My father gave me this green African dress, and when I arrived in the village, all the women came forward. The women supporting me came forward wearing the same green dress, singing, "Para tang tang tang, para tang tang tang, para do do way, poor Sarah, go to." They're singing in Mende, my family's language. We're preparing for Sarah. As a kid, I was a track star, homecoming queen, full scholarship to college, overachiever, and I just showed up in Sierra Leone, and that was enough. Another thing I'm learning on this journey, that sometimes just showing up is enough. That's what you all are doing today. But just showing up isn't enough. Sorry, you're going to have to donate too. We'll get to that. We're getting to that. So I saw what happened after that 11-year civil war. And I said, I got to bring together the people who have empowered me so much to actually come together. So I took my parents from West Africa to meet my parents from West Virginia to meet my family in West Africa, and we all started working together for something bigger than ourselves, like this room is doing. You all are coming from different backgrounds, different stories, different places, and you're all here in one room showing up to connect for something bigger than ourselves, being of service. I took my parents with me to Sierra Leone to meet my birth family and the tribe, very different cultures coming together to make sure that women and children are getting what they need. And we started working in public health, education, technology, and female empowerment. I see that you all are doing it in this part of the world. You're supporting the community in this part of the world, which lifts my soul, which is what we all have to do our part. I'm doing it in this other part of the world, right? We all have our places to do this, to make this world a better place. So I took my parents to Sierra Leone and everyone got to meet. And I started to see and learn from the community there. I'd like for you to see this little brief meeting.
This is my sister Jennifer. My father.
Nice to meet you. Hello, Joe. It's been a long time.
I feel I know you. I know you.
My dad and my birth father getting to meet, everyone coming together for something that was really special. And as I was in Sierra Leone, we started working on projects, and we started really listening to the voices of the people in the community. And children said, we need solar lanterns so we can see at night, so we can do our homework. The girls said, we drop out of school due to our menstrual cycle because we don't have access to sanitary pads. Another thing that I'm sure you all give so much of supporting, because our menstrual cycle is a part of being a woman, and sanitary pads can keep girls at home even in the United States. There was documentation that in West Virginia, some families didn't have enough money for sanitary pads so that girls would stay home. This doesn't just happen in other countries, and it's a huge situation inside of poverty. Period, poverty is real. So we started working on that, and the women said we need clean drinking water so our kids don't have to walk miles a day to get to school. These are all these things. This is my brother and I, and we worked with Rotary International, and all of us coming together to get clean drinking water. And my dad and my birth father worked together with Rotary to get 9 wells dug that are serving 12,000 people with clean drinking water. And thank you. However, and when we went there this past January, a man stood up and said, we don't have to take our wives to other communities now to give birth because we have clean water. Something that I didn't even think about. I was just thinking about clean drinking water for health purposes and for nourishment, and our bodies need water, but it was actually to deliver babies as well. So I'm learning about another culture, and you're learning how to support people through listening to each other's voices, listening to the people in the community that you're serving. They're sharing with you what they need. And I'm so blown away. I was with board members and other folks last night, and I got teary because I was so inspired by the passion, the love in the room, the commitment that everyone there had and everyone here has. So as I share with you about Sierra Leone, I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing in this piece of the world. It takes a village. We all have our role. This is what you're doing in Memphis. What a beautiful gift. This is what I'm doing in Sierra Leone. If we all play our part, what can this world look like? I'm very excited about that. This is to close out, this is the book I co-wrote, A Princess Found. It's in Barnes & Noble, and we're working on turning it into a movie with Disney, actually having representation on the stage. There are Black princesses. Imagine that, right? And thank you. And speaking of that, one of my other commitments is representation in the world. So I just want to share with you that I launched a podcast called Modern Royalty. And I want to ask you a favor to please pull out your phones and subscribe to YouTube if you don't mind. It would touch my heart and mean so much, because we're interviewing royalty from around the world. A princess from the Ashanti Empire in Eswatini in South Africa. I interviewed Kwaku Mandela, President Nelson Mandela's grandson. I interviewed Dame Tessie from Luxembourg. I'm going to give you like 30 more seconds to do this. Take your time. And all of these amazing people, to have people see representation around the world and to learn about cultures. How can we learn about each other and come together? That's what I think is so powerful. Also, if any of you watched Atlanta Housewives, I'm also doing Tea Time, and I just interviewed Cynthia Bailey. So this Friday on this podcast that you're scanning, you'll get to hear from the amazing Cynthia Bailey. Additionally, if you want to stay in touch, please text me. I love to know who you are and connect. And lastly, this space is a sacred space. What you're doing is impacting so many. Please go maybe out of your comfort zone, right? For me, going into the unknown, meeting my family was a little uncomfortable. I didn't know what it would look like. So maybe whatever you're choosing to give today, maybe you go a little bit out of your comfort zone and give even more. You have no idea the difference you're going to make in someone's life. You have no idea what that person is going to do for their family and for the world that we live in. You may be creating another mayor or another president or another person who's serving the school community or the church community. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for showing up. And thank you for your contribution. You're making a huge impact in the world. BCAK, thank you.